souls, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is really cool because I'm going to be doing a tag. It is the Not My Tarot Aesthetic tag, and it's basically just decks in your collection that you have that aren't your aesthetic. And this tag was created by Mixtress Rae, and I really love her channel. I've been watching it a lot lately. She has very strong views about you know, like having too many decks and consumerism and stuff like that. I really love her channel. I'll have it linked down below if you guys are interested. But yeah, so today I'm going to get into decks that aren't my tarot aesthetic. And by this, like, personally, I'm taking this tag as like decks I have that just don't really fit my personal aesthetic of my practice, but that doesn't necessarily equate to like the artwork, if that makes sense. Like, most of these decks, I absolutely adore the artwork, but they just don't fit in with my like usual tarot aesthetic. All of these are oracle decks, so just a fair warning, most of the tarot decks that I've brought into my collection are pretty spot on to my aesthetic. So these are all oracle decks, but yeah, they fit the category. So if I had to say like what my tarot aesthetic was, is very witchy. Like, I love witchy decks, earthy decks, nature-based decks. And so all of these are kind of like outside of that. So let's get started. Let's get started with angel decks. Now, in my spirituality, a lot of people had angel decks, and so I just thought that was kind of like part of it. And I've come to realize, like, in my journey that these aren't necessarily like what I'm drawn to anymore. I have a lot of like religious trauma and things like that. So I only have like a handful-ish of angel decks. And let's get into this. So this is the Angel Answers by Radley Valentine. And this is one of the angel decks I have that I absolutely adore. I love this deck. And the reason that I love it so much is because it's very good for like yes or no answers. And I really love the artwork. Like, I love the golden border here. And while the artwork is very angelic, it's not like super in your face religious. It gives me more like Renaissance painting vibes, you know what I mean? But I really love it for yes or no questions. Because I feel like most of the time with oracle and tarot decks, it can be kind of hard to discern if it's a yes or no, depending. But this is very like in your face, yes or no for the most part. And it has timing, all of that. And I really do love the artwork. But just in the grand scheme of things, like, angel decks don't necessarily fit into my aesthetic. But I absolutely love this deck and I want to use it more. And that's another reason I'm making this video, is to kind of look more at the decks that I don't really work with a lot and kind of, yeah. All right, so let's talk about this one. This is Keepers of the Light Oracle cards. And this is by Kyle Gray. I have a few Kyle Gray decks. And again, this one is one of the very first decks I got. And again, through my journey, I've kind of realized that I don't really like work with higher power deities and things like that, at least not yet. That just doesn't really fit into my practice. And this deck is very much like about deities, keepers of the light, you know what I mean? So ascended masters, I guess. And like, there are some more, like, I feel like I'm more drawn to like this than I am like this, you know what I mean? Like, this is just not my aesthetic. Like Diana, yes, I like working with those kind of energies, but there's a lot of like religious, a lot of religious feeling in this deck that I don't really like that much. And I don't know, I've learned that I don't really like decks that have like, that focus on people a lot, like energies of people or energies of like ascended masters, whatever it is. I don't really like decks like that. I like decks that are more I don't know, I just don't like decks that like focus on a person and like their energy, if that makes sense. So this is a deck that I don't know if I'll end up keeping, but I have it in my collection just in case, and I'll probably have it there for a while. But yeah, just not really my vibe here. All right, next up we have the third angel deck, and this is the Angel Guide Oracle, and this is by Kyle Gray again. And I really enjoy this deck because it has just keywords, and it doesn't have like specific angels. Again, really pretty artwork. I love the artwork in this one. It's probably my favorite like angel deck. This one and the Angel Answers are my favorite angel decks I have. And yeah, again, this is just, it's not, I don't like when decks are like Archangel Gabriel or Archangel Uriel. Like, I don't like when they say things like that, but this one's just very much keywords, which I love. So yeah, really pretty artwork. And if you want kind of like an angel energy type deck, but you don't want it to be super specific, I would suggest this one because it's just very beautiful, and it doesn't, again, like talk about the certain angels. You know what I mean? So yeah. All right, next up, this one might be surprising, but this is the Starseed Oracle. And the reason that this one's in this video is because I don't really feel like I connect as much to the Starseed belief as I originally thought. As I've worked more through my spirituality, I've really come to the conclusion that I feel very connected to the earth and to the moon, but not necessarily like, I don't necessarily believe I'm a starseed, if that makes sense. But I really love this deck. The artwork's beautiful. I love the pink and the blue and like the pastels, but I just don't find myself drawn to it a lot. I do love celestial things. I love like the sun and the moon and like stars and all that, but I don't feel like I connect as much with space as I do with the earth. And so I feel, as I've gone through my spiritual journey, I've realized I'm very much like an earthy kind of witch, and not so much like a starseed, kind of a soul, I guess. But yeah, these are just really gorgeous cards, and they have really good messages. Some of them can be out there though, so that's why I feel like I'm maybe not drawn to it as much, but it is a beautiful deck, and I do love the energy it gives off. It has a very specific energy, and yeah, it is beautiful for when you're kind of in that mood, you know what I mean? All right, next up we have the Legendary Ladies Goddess deck, and I love goddess decks. I have a few. I'm very particular about which ones I bring into my space. And this one is not like my initial aesthetic as far as like the artwork. The artwork's beautiful, but it's very like Disney-esque, and I'm not a big Disney person. I do love Disney movies, don't get me wrong, and I love to watch them and reminisce about my childhood, but I guess in my like decor or things that I like aesthetically around me, I'm not a big like fan of Disney artwork or like Disney merch or anything like that. Like that's not my thing, but I love this deck. Again, it's very Disney-esque artwork, but I love all the different goddesses and how they're shown in like this art style. And what I love to do with this deck is just like shuffle the cards, get a goddess, and do research about her. Love Artemis. Love that. So yeah, it's a really pretty deck. So if you're into this kind of artwork, this is like a really good deck for you. But yeah, just not my like aesthetic that I would normally go for. All right, next up we have the Divine Abundance deck by Tosha Silver and Fina Gonzalez. This deck is interesting. So there was a time when I first started getting into spirituality where I felt very drawn to like Middle Eastern or like Indian type spiritual things. There was a time where I was feeling kind of drawn to like Ganesha, but I just don't anymore. Like I just don't connect with that, I think. And this deck is very like Indian, Middle Eastern kind of, and I just don't like the artwork on this one. This is one I don't like the artwork on. Like I don't like all the little dots, and like I just can't get into it. This is one I've like never worked with. I kind of looked through it and I was like, nope, I don't like it. But again, I want to keep it just in case I'm like drawn to it at some point. Yeah, see, it's very, I like this card. That's a cool one. But yeah, I just don't connect with the artwork on this one, and I'm just not into like that kind of spirituality, I guess. Which there's nothing wrong if you are. I just personally am not drawn to it. So again, that is the Divine Abundance Oracle cards. And this is one of the ones I might end up giving away eventually, but who knows. And along that same path, I have the Yogic Path deck. Let me get it out. This is what it looks like. That's the inner box. Now, this comes in like a stunning presentation. Like the book is beautiful. It feels like so lush and like expensive and stuff. And then it has like this inner box too. So yeah, it's a beautiful deck. Don't get me wrong. This is the backs. But I just don't know a lot about like yoga or like those kind of beliefs, I guess. And this is a collage deck. And I have done readings with this. And I do like what came out. But again, it's like very Indian type beliefs. And I don't know. I just don't know. Not really my thing. But it's a really beautiful deck. It really is. I'm kind of bowed. I haven't really like, I've used it maybe like once or twice. So yeah, beautiful artwork, but just not something I am ever really drawn to. But again, that might change in the future, so I'll keep it around for a while. But yeah, it is a beautiful deck. I don't know. If there's any of these that I've said I don't really like want to keep long term, and you guys are like super like into it, I might consider letting them go. So just comment down below and let me know. All right, next up we have two mermaid decks, and these are the last ones I'm going to show. But I absolutely love both of these decks, but the reason I included them is just because water is not something I've always like been drawn to, and I'm not a super, yeah, I'm not super connected to the water. You know how some people just like love to swim and love to be in the water? That was never me. So that's why these ones don't necessarily fit in with my aesthetic, but they are stunning. So this one is the Messages from the Mermaids by Karen K, and I absolutely adore this deck. This deck is gorgeous, and I love the keywords. Those are the backs. This is a diverse deck. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love decks that have just kind of like one keyword. They're very easy to read with. Beautiful to pair with like a tarot. But yeah, very diverse. It shows a lot of body diversity, skin diversity, age diversity. Love that chunky mermaid. She's beautiful. So yeah, absolutely love this deck, but I just included it again because it's not something like that I connect to on a deep level, I guess. Like, I've never been drawn to the water, but I love the deck. Like, it's gorgeous. And along that same kind of thought, I have the Oracle of the Mermaids by Lucy Cavendish and Selena Fennick. And this is a Blue Angel deck. This deck has really deep messages, which I adore. It's kind of like a darker shadow work deck, kind of relating to mermaids and all of that. And obviously, like, as a little girl, I did, you know, dream of being a mermaid and all that stuff. I mean, who doesn't? But, yeah, I've never been, like, super drawn to the water. But this is an absolutely stunning, the artwork, the cardstock, everything is just, like, so lush and beautiful. And I love the deeper kind of meanings in this deck. Stunning. Sorry, I got kind of lost in the artwork. I haven't brought this out since like the summertime, so forgot how much I love this one. So yeah, that is my not my tarot aesthetic with all oracle decks. But if you guys want to do this tag, I suggest you do it. If you've done it before, comment down below so that I can watch yours. But yeah, I think it's like, it's important to note that having one, you don't have to have like one aesthetic. I am also very eclectic in my spirituality, so that's probably why I have all these different kinds of decks that aren't necessarily my tarot aesthetic, and I think that's okay. Like, we don't have to stick to a certain aesthetic, you know what I mean? So yeah, do you guys have any of the decks that I showed today? Do you like them? If there's any that you're interested that I was kind of like not super into, let me know, so that I can maybe give them to you or sell them. I don't know what I'm going to do yet with them. Again, I'm probably going to keep them for a while just because there are times where I do feel drawn to certain decks that I didn't necessarily first vibe with. So that's why I like to keep them for a while. But yeah, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.